On today's class, we will discuss reserve list investing. Risk, reward. Welcome back, class. Please take your seats. Pardon me while I get prepared. You can turn your binder to page 18, Argivian Archaeologist. Just grab a seat there and study that for a moment as I prepare. I apologize for being tardy. There was no parking spots outside in the faculty parking. I was quite concerned, but everything worked out. Miss Liliana left for the day finally, and I was able to grab a spot. Thank you all for understanding. So, for those of you who are new, please take your seats as always, and welcome to the class. This is Risk Reward, Magic the Gathering Investing, and I am not your professor. I am MTG Moxman, and welcome everyone. So, before we get started, remember, this is an entertainment channel. There is no investment here happening at all. I don't know anything about investing, nor should I be considered a real investment advisor. You should be going to a bank or some licensed person who's qualified to speak on these matters. Thank you, everyone. Let's begin. So, in today's class, we'll be discussing risk-reward for Magic the Gathering's reserve list investing. Now, as most of you know by this point from attending the first class, this one is about risk-reward. And Magic the Gathering has 572 cards on the reserve list. Now, for those who didn't know from the first class, if you weren't paying attention, these cards cannot be reprinted. They are not coming back again. They are solid. So as a risk-reward, inherently, we already know that there is a finite amount of these cards existing. Even if it was 1 million cards, we know there's only 1 million. Do you understand, class? I hope so. So with a finite amount, we know there is less risk when investing in this type of product. So the risk-reward always slightly goes in the favor of reserve list cards. And because there is a finite amount, this is why the reserve list is often referred to as blue chip stock. Now, of course, within any stock in any company, there are better pieces of that stock than others. You could think of the reserve list as many tiers and levels, many columns as it were, with the very highest column being the Power 9. Then closely behind the Power 10, there are certain cards that people thought should be on the top of the heap. But then there are also Tier 1 reserve list cards. These could be cards like Candelabra of Tawnos, Guardian Beast. Many of these types of cards fit within that Tier 1 level. And then it falls down from there, Tier 2, Tier 3, all the way through to what I consider Tier 10, the very bottom of that pile. But again, in risk-reward, understand, class, unlike the reserve list, pardon me, what's that at the back? Non-reserve list cards. You can audit this class if you're here for non-reserve list investing, but please understand that this is a reserve list investing class. You will learn things, but it's not exactly applicable to you. But I don't mind if you stay, as long as you're quiet at the back. No, I'm not taking questions right now. So, questions can be at the end of the class in the comment section. Thank you. So when you think of these other levels and columns within the reserve list and the collectability, the risk reward becomes greater or less depending on where you're falling in that column. In this case, we will not be discussing budgeting for these pieces of the column. We are merely talking about the risk reward. If you decide to buy a Power 9 Mox Emerald, first of all, congratulations, it is an excellent choice. When you buy that sort of reserve list card, you have to understand it has less risk than other cards on the reserve list as it is a Power 9. It is highly recognized and most stores and secondary sellers will pick that card up from you. Now, there is less reward though. This card has gone up in value significantly over the years since its induction into the reserve list, making it an already highly priced card. The gains on the higher end reserve list cards do take time to gain compared to lower end reserve list cards, which can have quicker spikes. And yes, we'll get to that. So there is less reward, but also less risk when you buy a higher end reserve list card. There's more stability there. But also, there are less people who can afford that card, which exposes you to a later time frame in which you may have to sell that card. It may take much longer depending. Or you may have to take a lesser gain on that card based on what happens inside that marketplace in which you're shopping. Now, Tier 1 top-level reserve list cards, they have some room to gain quicker, depending on the type of card you're looking at. They again have minimal risk because they are reserve list cards, and many people use these cards in Commander decks. You will find them in those types of decks. So they have a lot of playability. They have a lot of uses for players as well as the investment side of Magic. They have a dual-edged sword, as you were. And many people understand that and will try to pick these cards up even for a possible future Commander deck, which is why cards like Time Twister, although it's powered 9, it is used in Commander. If you have one, congratulations. It was an excellent purchase. Now, when we look at lower end reserve list cards, the guys I consider tiers 5 through 10, the junk reserve list many people consider. Those cards, if invested in, have very high risk of very low returns because nobody buys them for play. They buy them for investment purposes. They buy them to sit on them and collect them. There are many reasons, and you can please jot those notes down about why you collect those particular cards if it's something you're interested in. And you can leave a memo in my class list or email me. I'll be happy to answer back. So when we look at this and you understand which tier you fall in and which cards interest you, understand the risk reward, and the final risk reward is this card can go to 0. Are you willing to accept that you've lost all your money in this piece of cardboard? Because in the real world, in the mommy daddy world, yes, the mommy daddy world where you buy real stocks like a bank or a car company, those stocks can go to 0. Banks can go bankrupt. Car companies can go out of business. At least with Magic, you do get to play with the cardboard. Congratulations. So when you think of that investing, understand the risk reward, the final. If you have to pay the ultimate price is that card goes to 0. Are you accepting of that? Because if you are, then maybe this class is for you. Because the reward on the far end can be extremely high, as we talked about in the first class. This can be worth a lot of money. These cards can go up to exceptional values, and the returns can be very handsome if you wait that long. Remember, when investing, even risk-reward side, it's how long you're willing to put in the time. Anywhere from 7 to 15, 20 years, the longer you wait, the better the reward on most of the cards you're in. Although, no dividends are paid out on reserve list cards that I know of. I've never heard of or seen a dividend, but the accumulation of value can be quite great. So when you're thinking about this, and you think about the cards you're interested in, decide on what level, a $10 level, a $5, a $1, or $3. There are many different price levels to the reserve list. There are many different cards that could interest you as a player, as a collector, or as an investor. Spreading your wealth around and picking up various cards for various reasons is usually the best chance you have at having an overall well-balanced portfolio with reserve list investing. Buying just one card over and over will not always yield you a great return. And you may force that particular card to rise in price unintentionally. When you go to buy a reserve list card and you buy 10 all at once of a particular card, let's say Elvish Farmer from Fallen Empires, and you buy 10 copies, and they were $1 each. Remember, the secondary market is always watching. The secondary sellers are always watching to see what happens, to see if new combinations for a card can be used, and they will adjust prices. When you buy 10 all at once, they will notice 10 are gone, and they will adjust that price a few pennies here or there, but make sure that you got the ones you wanted at the price you were hoping to get them at. Make sure you did it once. Remember, there are other investors out there, just as equally opportunistic as you, trying to get ahead in this crazy world of investing. That also leads to other risks. Being caught into price wars and trying to outbid someone is not the way to go. Stick with the cards that interest you. Be patient. As with investing, it takes time. Wait for opportunities, and they will come to you. Missing one opportunity here may open the door to another opportunity at the other end. You do not want to put yourself at risk. Your risk reward must be balanced out. It's not how much you can make, it's how much you can lose. In the end, something can go to zero. Always remember that when investing. Understanding not that the card can go to 1,000, but that it can go to zero. Now, class, when you think about all these amazing cards and your interest in this investing area of Magic, start out slow. Learn, watch, review prices, check multiple platforms. Educate yourself as best you can. As an unregulated market, things can go very crazy in Magic the Gathering very quickly. And as a player base grows, you'll see more and more people get caught up in the hype of any particular card. As an investor, risk reward must be taken into account before jumping on the bandwagon and doing something unforeseen. I hope this class has learned valuable lessons in their years, days, months, however long you've been at reserveless investing. You've probably just learned a little bit more by attending this class today. And I hope in the future to see you at more of these classes as we further educate people on reserveless investing. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can see me. My office hours are open, and I look forward to seeing you at the next class. Class dismissed. Hey, a big shout out goes out to each and every one of my awesome patrons. Thanks a lot, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages. Patrons make the world go round, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Look forward to seeing everyone on the live stream. You guys rock. You stuck around to see me take my shirt off? Get out of this class.